back to TaraChessAcademy, and today, in honor of Martin Luther King Jr., we have a king endgame prepared for all of you. Oh, by the way, did you know what Martin Luther King's favorite color was?
I don't know. Maybe it's green.
No, try again.
Yellow.
Mm-mm.
Blue.
Yeah, blue. Good job. You got it right.
Oh, so that's why today we have a blue chessboard. Yeah, probably because it was his favorite color. Now I see.
Yeah, so Martin Luther King Jr. What wore this color often as a symbol of peace. And
Mm.
in his words, he mentioned that the color blue represented the highest quality of human relationship. So to honor the great Martin Luther King Jr., we have a special King Endgame prepared for all of you. And on top of that, we have his favorite color as the board theme. So are you ready? Do you want to get started?
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's start.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have an end game where black has an extra pawn. Yeah, so black pawns move up, not like this, yeah, just straight. So, and of course, black would be happy to promote one of the pawns. I don't see how, like, for now, maybe I don't see how to create a passed pawn. I just see if I play g4 and g3 immediately, it doesn't look great because it's a rook pawn, h pawn, and the white king can easily block it. So it's not a win and end game, it's just a draw. So it looks like if I want to play g3, my pawn should be supported by the h pawn, and finally h pawn should get to g3. So let's think how we could make this plan work. Maybe we should start with h5 immediately.
Yeah,
So
I
Tara,
think
should we try?
I think that looks good. So maybe h5, and then later on we can play either h4 or g4 first,
Mm-hmm.
and then try to get our pawn to g3. And yeah, I think it'll work.
Yeah, so h5 looks like the most natural move because we want like to get to g3 as soon as possible. Let's see if it works, if we are on the right way. So I don't think that white has anything better than just moving the king to g1 and h1. Yeah, so we can play g4. King f2, king f1 wouldn't make any sense. It has to go back. So what would you do now, Tara? So should we play g3 immediately or we should move h pawn first?
I would say don't move the pawn to g3 because if you move it to g3 and then the pawn takes back and you take back with your king, you'll have an h pawn, and it's known that just an H pawn will get you a draw. It won't get you a win. But in this position, we are aiming for a win, so it's best to not trade off that pawn. So I would say let's play H4 instead.
Okay. Uh, Still nothing better than King G1. It's the only one move that white has. And now G3 looks like a good idea. So G3, yeah. I don't think that it's good for white not to capture, so takes. We still don't take, we don't capture with the king. Yeah, we want our H pawn to become a G pawn. And now let's think if it's a win and can't game for black. So what do you think, Tara?
I kind of feel like my my thoughts changed about this because if the white king moves now to h1, let's say, to take the
Mm-hmm.
opposition, and then I play pawn to g2, the king is going to go to g1 to stop my pawn from promoting, and then I would play g3, and now it's a draw. So this is not really what we hoped for.
Yeah, so you see, when we start in this position with h5, I don't see that after h5 we did something wrong. So, unfortunately, we can't win the game. So, I have a feeling that in this position, tempos and all the moves are important. So, I think we have to count all the moves and all the tempos step by step. And if we play h5, it looks like we hurry up. So, let's think what else we can do.
Hmm. So if all of you don't know this at home, endgames require a lot of calculation, and as you know, as you've seen on this channel, we've been doing a lot of tactics, a lot of puzzles. In those kind of tactic puzzles, you just need to calculate 2 or 3 moves in advance and then you're good because you'll know that you'll get a winning position. But in the end game, you need to be super careful because if you make one small mistake, it could cost you the game. And we just saw that in the last position. Had a draw instead of getting a win. So in the
Mm-hmm.
end game, you're not just calculating 1, 2, or 3 moves. It's better to calculate for the entire variation to see if it's going to get you a winning position or not. So remember, in openings, middle games, two 2 to 5 moves is the suggested amount of calculation. But in endgames, you really need to sit down, think, and analyze the whole line before you make a move, because every move you make in an endgame will affect the result of the will will affect the result. So instead of h5, let's try h6.
Yeah, let's see if it makes any changes. So, h6. Usually we want to win a tempo, yeah, but who knows, maybe this endgame is an example when you have to spend more tempos. Okay, still king g1, nothing new for white.
Okay, let's try h5.
Yeah, h5. So I still king h1, yeah, no choice. What happens then?
Okay, and some of you at home might be thinking that this is the same position as before and nothing has changed. But let's go deeper into it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try pawn to h4.
Yeah, I think it's not so important which pawn to move first, h4 or g4. Okay, I still play king g1.
Okay, pawn to g4.
Okay, so king h1.
Okay, now let's try pawn to g3.
Yeah, so we still follow the plan. Okay, probably white captures.
Okay, and this time, as before, we need to be careful again because do we capture with the king or the pawn? So let's think about it. So if we capture with the king, and then if white takes the opposition by playing g1, now we have an h pawn, and that's not going to help us win. So you
Mm-hmm.
can see this is a stalemate for white. White has no legal moves, so therefore it's called a stalemate. So let's go back a couple moves. So you can see we can't have an H pawn. If we have an H pawn, we're going to get a draw. So let's change that H pawn to be a G pawn now. So let's capture the pawn.
Mm-hmm.
And then the difference is the king has to go to G1.
So yeah, you see the kings already were in the opposition, and now the white king has to go away. So it moves to g1, and what should we do?
Now we should play pawn to G2.
Mm-hmm. The only move is king f2, and it looks like the pawn promotes.
hmm Yeah, so we can play king to H2, and then after the king goes to F3, let's say, we can promote our pawn.
Yeah, of course, a winning end game. So let's go back and let's compare the positions. Yeah, so let's go quickly through h5 variation again. So you see, when we play g3, the white king is on g1. Yeah, it's important to notice this. And after trading the pawns, the king easily gets into the opposition. But when we start with h6 instead of h5 immediately, let's see what position do we have. Yeah, so after the pawn takes, the king is on h1. This is a difference, and it has to go away. And this is how black wins this endgame. So we always have to keep in mind tempos, and we always have to calculate the position. So sometimes the most natural move, yeah, if, for instance, if to start with h5, doesn't mean that it's a best move. So it's an example when it's better to spend more moves, but to win the position than to save some moves and make a draw.
Exactly. So I hope you all learned from this endgame position, and the big takeaway here is the principles of the endgame. So if you want to get better at your endgame skills, instead of just solely analyzing positions to practice to see what an endgame is like, it's important to learn the principles of the opening and have a strong foundation on the principles first, and then you can start practicing with more positions. So, again, the principles are that you need to be very careful in the end game because even a single slip could cost you the game. And
Mhm.
also, you need to think about the pieces. If you have a bishop versus a bishop and a knight, you need to think about the values of those pieces. So there's so many things about the end game, which is it's totally different from the opening and the middle game because it's a time where you can craft your plans in the opening and middle game. It's a time where you can develop your ideas. But in the end game, it's about precision. It's important to get it's good to try and get every single move accurate so that you can get the correct result that you want instead of getting just a draw. You could get a win instead. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you on my next video. Bye!
Bye.